Prep 1. Mid-year novel revision. Before starting our revision, I'd like to have a playback about the introduction, okay? And it's very important. Why do you think Charles Dickens wrote this novel, okay? Or what were Charles Dickens' aims when he wrote Oliver Twist, okay? Dickens wanted to show us how life was unfair to the people who suffered from hunger, neglect, and poverty. He wants to show us the real, cruel life of criminals and thieves as it really was. Okay? He wants us also to see the corruption, okay? The corruption that happened in England, okay? Also, he wants to tell us that goodness always wins over evil at the end. Dickens wanted to criticize the society that was divided into extremely rich people who enjoyed their lives and extremely poor people who suffered from neglect, okay, died from starvation, illness, and were hanged for the simplest crime and the governmental institutions, which were supposed to help, comfort, and provide relief for the poor, were corrupted and full of cruelty and harshness. Okay? Okay. Then, we also know that Dickens has chosen some names or words which were significant and important and symbolic. Okay? So, Oliver, and his name was Oliver Twist. The word twist, okay, means or signifies that Oliver's life was full of sudden, unexpected twists and changes. It wasn't straight. For example, the baby farm. Why it was called so? Because the babies were treated badly like animals on a farm. Always dirty, hungry, sick, neglected, and beaten. Okay, someone like Mrs. Mann. Mrs. Mann was cruel, harsh, and corrupted with no motherly feelings, and she was like a man. We have also Mr. Bumble. Okay, Mr. Bumble is like a bubble, okay, empty and hollow from inside, and he was so arrogant, okay, ill-tempered, and greedy. Then we have the workhouse. It was an institution established by the government as a place where poor people or poor homeless people live and work. It was supposed to relieve and comfort the poor homeless people and help them to live and earn their living. Okay. We have also the beadle. He was the local policeman responsible for the children in the workhouse. He gives them their names and announces the board's visit. Okay, now let's go to our questions here. Chapter 1, answer the following questions. Number 1, the choice of words in writing a novel is very important. Why did Dickens use the baby farm rather than using the orphanage? Okay, now, question number 1, here we have the answers. Number 1, Dickens used the baby farm rather than using the orphanage because babies were treated as animals on a farm and they were always kept dirty and they were neglected and beaten by Mrs. Mann as well. Okay, number 2, we have a quotation here. The old story, no wedding ring. Comment. Number 2, the old story, no wedding ring. The local doctor said that to the old drunk nurse. He asked about Oliver's mother's identity. The nurse told him that nobody knew anything about her, and she was found laying in the street in front of the workhouse. Then the doctor lifted her left hand to find that there was no wedding ring, and that meant that she wasn't married and that Oliver's father was unknown. Chapter 2. Answer the following questions. Oliver was driven mad with fear at his first night at Mr. Sowerberry's house. Discuss. The answer. Number 1. Oliver was scared to death when he slept among the coffins. He felt lonely and hated by everyone. He wished his bed was his grave, as he had no friends and no one cared for him. Question 2, a quotation. Everybody hates me. Please don't be angry with me, sir. The answer. Oliver said that to Mr. Bumble. When Mr. Bumble was taking him to Mr. Sowerberry's house, Oliver felt lonely, depressed, disappointed, and hated by everyone. With no friends and no one to care about him, he asked Mr. Bumble not to be angry with him. Chapter 3. Answer the following questions. Number 1. What was Mr. Sowerberry's punishment for Oliver after his fight with Noah, despite being his friend? Answer. Number 1. Mr. Sowerberry wanted to be kind to Oliver at the beginning, but to satisfy his wife, he felt forced to beat Oliver severely. He hit him hard and shut him up in the dark room again to please his wife. Number 2, we have a quotation. She was so bad, it was lucky she died, as she would have ended up in prison or hung. Comment. As a result of bad temper, Noah tried to make Oliver cry by hitting him, pulling his hair, and calling him horrible names. That was unsuccessful. So Noah tried personal insults, and he said these words to Oliver about his mother, trying to arouse his anger and make him cry. He called Oliver a workhouse and insulted his mother by calling her a bad, wicked woman. So Oliver lost temper for the first time and fought Noah violently.